Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm Jessica Lopez, and this is your Gamescom 2011 special report. Today we'll be taking a look at Codemasters Formula One 2011, a title that a lot of you out there have been asking us to please give you more information on. The time has now come. Our overseas reporter Andreas Nee sat down with Chief Game Designer Stephen Hood and talks about the top 3 improvements of Formula One 2011 over 2010 and the decision for Codemasters to make this more of an online-based game. So here you have it, Andreas Nee sitting down with Stephen Hood to get all the information that you guys have been waiting for.
I'm here at Codemasters, and of course regular viewers know my guest already, but still a short introduction is due.
Yep, my name's Stephen Hood, Chief Game Designer on Formula One 2011.
So what would be your personal top 3 improvements over 2010?
I think I'd say split screen is a massive thing for us. A load of people were asking for that, and we were wondering whether or not we'd actually manage to get split screen into a 24-car game. Thanks to the Dirt 3 team, we're taking a lot of their cool technology, transferred it into Formula One, so you've got split screen now. Co-op championship, which is online. This is you and your friend playing throughout a season as teammates in a team of your choice, battling through the practice sessions, trying to improve the team, trying to become the team leader, trying to win the Constructors title. We had elements of that in the single player last year, but it really becomes quite personal and cooler and fun to play when you're playing with a friend alongside you in the same team. Beyond that, I'd say probably the new things that Formula One has brought to the sport, like the Pirelli tyres, the KERS and the DRS. They're tools and toys that the players can really pick up on quite quickly, and they really do mix the racing up, so it's cool to include that as well.
All right, speaking of the Pirelli tires, I noticed that Microsoft is talking a lot about their tire model, and that is based on Pirelli and what they did for them. Was there any cooperation between you and Pirelli as well?
Yeah, I mean, we try and to cooperate with a lot of the people in Formula One in order to get data, but beyond the data that a lot of people can kind of get these days, it's about reflecting what people expect to experience as well, and that's the key thing for us, because we study a lot of the races, we watch all the practice sessions, we're watching all the qualifying stuff as it happens and the races. We listen to all the after-show analysis, and we're understanding what it's like for the drivers in the feel of the tyre, because that's more important to us really at the end of the day than just relying on the data itself. Because if Hamilton or some of the drivers are saying, oh, the tyres go off too quickly, or Ferrari is saying the hard compound doesn't suit our car, that's what we want players to experience in the game. So if they're watching it on TV or reading it in the papers, seeing it on the news, we want to pick up on those key things and reflect it in the game. So it's data and actual race analysis.
All right, now KERS and DRS are new technologies now introduced into the game. How satisfied are you with A, the simulation aspect, how it is implemented, and B, how is the handling, how you trigger it, and etc.?
Well, they're cool things for the player, first of all. I mean, a lot of the drivers at the start of the season when DRS came into the sport, the KERS came back to it, and the Pirelli tyres, the drivers were saying, it's getting too complicated in the cockpit, we've got too many buttons to press, and I was thinking, it might be the same for the player as well. But fortunately, gamers pick up on these things quite quickly anyway, and the concepts for all of these things, even though they've got this weird terminology, and it's hard to pick up on if you don't know what they are, about the power boost and the rear wing, players quickly get to grips with that. And with the changes of the handling model and the suspension in particular, the cars feel far more evolving now. They're reacting as they would do in real life.
Safety car. There it is now in 2011, right?
Oh, did I mention that? Yes. Yeah, safety car. I mean, I've been asked on a daily basis, have you got the safety car? But literally 10 minutes after we'd announced that, I was getting more questions about how do I trigger it? What happens in this situation? Then have you got the red flag? And what happens if it's wet? And it will be never ending. I can't wait till people get the game and they can start asking me about it.
Well, obviously I have to ask as well. So, how do you trigger it? What happens in the rain, etc.?
Yeah, this is just like a Twitter conversation now.
It is.
So for us, the important thing is to use the safety car in accurate times. We don't have this random thing that says, right now it's time for a safety car to come out. There are particular triggers. And the most obvious one would be, there's been an accident out on the track, a couple of cars that are retired, it's causing an incident that we need to clear up. The safety car can be triggered, come out, people have got to drive around, catch up and join the train. We make sure that you've got something to do during that period as well, because this is all live, this is all playable. We're not treating it as a cutscene or doing a cheap cop-out and a quick feature to get that tick on the back of the box. So you can weave during the safety car formation period, where you're trying to keep heat in your tyres. You can slow down a bit in the train, burn the rear tyres up to get heat into those. The whole safety car period is coming to a close. It's going to pit in this lap. People are getting ready for the jump. The leader's trying to slow everybody down. All of those things that we have to deal with to reflect what goes on in real life. We're trying to make sure that you don't always have to have the safety car on if you don't want. If the safety car can't come out because maybe there's loads of cars laying across the track, across the racing line, we have a red flag and you can restart the race in the proper order on the grid. So we try to take into account all of these different scenarios. It's a big job for us, but I think it's certainly looking like it's paying off because everybody's now really pleased we've got the safety car.
Yes, I bet. Now, with a safety car, you also have to have like AI that kind of gets into trouble. You know, you don't always want to have the player to cause the safety car phase. So you probably have improvements on the AI side as well.
Yes, there are lots of things that we wanted to change with the AI. Certainly in how quickly they can compute the different scenarios they find themselves in, because the AI in 10 was still an advancement on most racing games, i.e. they were aware of where the other opponent car was, whether or not they're trying to overtake on the inside. They like to squeeze you towards the inside line to try and defend positions. But we've got a new system in place, taking a lot of that technology from last year. They're a little more intelligent now, and they're actually driving the car the same way that the player would. So that means they can't just put their throttle pedal down instantly. They can't just be immediately on the brake. They've still got pedal travel, for example. They drive in the same kind of rhythm as a player does around the track. So there's none of this kind of, you're going into a corner full throttle, and in 2010 the AI might have dabbed to the brake. Now they're lifting off the throttle like the player would as well. So you get into this really cool rhythm during a lap, and you're actually chasing them down over time. It feels far more realistic. And they're also using KERS and DRS. And they're not just simplistic triggers on the track where they just do the same thing lap after lap and you work that out and you're able to take advantage of it. They can also use KERS intelligently, which is really cool, i.e. trying to save it up, not using all of it at the start of the race maybe, and using a bit for later on in the lap, trying to defend, trying to attack with KERS. That's important to get that right, otherwise they feel very robotic and nothing like a human. So we spent quite a bit of time on that. I think it'll work out.
Okay, well, we'll judge that when the game comes out.
Tamiya's extensive lineup of radio-controlled vehicles provides hobbyists with the joy of running exact replicas of their favorite car, tank, or off-road vehicle. Another attraction of these vehicles is their use of high-grade materials, such as nylon resin, carbon fiber, and polycarbonate. With precise mechanical systems, the maintenance and adjustment of the various components, as well as performance upgrading with optional parts, allows for truly competitive racing. For more information about Tamiya, visit us at www.tamiyausa.com.
GamePod, the ultimate race rig for those serious about sim racing. Puts you in the driver's seat with all the controls at your fingertips. Be number one on the road, in the race, in the game. GamePod, the choice of champions.
Now, Go Compete is part of the 2011 release, the multiplayer part. What's behind that?
I think it's fair to say that 2010, whilst it had multiplayer, it obviously didn't have a big focus on that. We were trying to get the career mode up and working, all the objectives and all the different performance in the teams. With 11, we wanted to get more people to play online together. For example, having the cooperative championship where you can be teammates to play throughout the season. But in order to facilitate that, you really needed 24 cars online rather than 12 that we had last year. So I'm pleased to say we've got that. Having the whole split screen thing that we've been talking about previously. Trying to make it more of a social thing that people want to play after work or talk about. Big multiplayer races, having the objectives in there so it's aware of your ability in the car that you're in. More of a coherent package online. It was relatively basic last year. We've really gone to town this year in multiplayer.
Okay, making the game experience more accessible or interesting maybe also is reflected in the career mode, because I noticed that you mentioned that the live the life part was more refined, the cutscenes, etc. What did you do there?
Yeah, I mean, whilst we keep going on about multiplayer being a big focus of 11, it doesn't mean we've ignored the single player at all. I mean, we still wanted to improve career mode, and importantly, address a lot of the concerns people had in the last game. So, let's say, for example, the interviews that you could do in the 2010 game, we still have that mechanic now, because we still believe it gives you something to do and builds a story throughout your single player game. But now we've got press feedback, so you can get emails from your agent with press clippings, or you can see clippings between the different race sessions or different weekend sessions announcing you to the world of Formula One, or you see some journalists writing about your character and you're thinking, okay, they've noticed me in the world of Formula One, they notice your first race win, or rumours of contract negotiations with maybe Ferrari or Mercedes. These things popping up in the news, just like we all read about it every closed season in the real world of Formula One. Including that in the game means the players got a greater understanding of how we answered that question to the media, how it's gone down in the world of Formula One. So it makes it more complete. We've also addressed a lot of the underlying career mechanics in terms of contract negotiations, how long the contracts last, all of those things that I think if you've played 2010, very quickly you'll notice it being more refined this time around.
Okay, sounds brilliant actually. One of the new things I noticed during the presentation that you did on stage was the strategy window. Of course, Formula One is a lot about strategy, and how do the mechanics work in 2011?
Well, the thing that we've really wanted to push this year, and I'm really hoping gamers pick up on it in single player and multiplayer, is, as you quite rightly say, strategy in Formula One. And that's the thing that really differentiates us between your typical racing game, which is drive as fast as you can for 3 laps and then that's done, to something like Formula One, which lends itself towards slightly longer races, certainly. So you do the pit stops, you're having that kind of strategy, looking after your fuel in real life, looking after your car because the car is really precious to you. That's what we want to play on. So it's not about you driving as fast as you can every single lap. That's reserved for, one shot in qualifying. Formula One's about having different stories. So nowadays, when we're completing races in the office, people have these stories that they recount, and it's, well, at the start of the race I found that I was stuck behind you, so I started saving fuel, and you were using your tyres up, but I was on the prime, so I made this decision. That's why I went into pit early. And people pick up on what's going on in a multiplayer race, and that's aided this year by the race engineer character being available in multiplayer as well. So he tells you what's going on for your car, gives you the bigger picture. Now the player's presented with information whereby they can make informed decisions, whereas in 10, you often felt as though it was a bit of a gamble. You didn't always have the information to hand. So one of the things we put on the OSD is a little strategy menu that shows you how well you're doing in terms of fuel. Like, are you running optimal, which means you'll get to the end of the race, or have you got 1 lap in reserve, which means later on you can turn your engine up if you need to do that. You also hear, for example, if the car ahead of you or behind you or some key person in the race has got a fault, maybe the car ahead's got a DRS problem or a KERS problem, you're thinking, maybe I can get him on the straight now. So this just makes the races feel far more involved and rich, and actually really differentiates us from just the standard racer.
And then there's, so we've got the engineer, but we've also got something called a race director. What's behind that? Yeah,
race director is an interesting one. That's a lot of people have been picking up on that recently, and really it came about because we wanted something to review in the office, a debug tool that would basically show us in a live race what had happened to certain drivers. Because sometimes you find that what happened to Alonso here, or what happened to Hamilton. He did start on pole and now is at the back. What's happened to him? So you can go into this menu at any point in the pause menu and review what's happened. Did Hamilton have any incidents? What were his lap times on average? Has he had any kind of penalties applied to him? So you can basically recap the event. That's also available on multiplayer. So if everybody comes back to the lobby after the race, they can all click on the race director and review these things, and it prompts a bit of discussion before the next race, which I think is quite cool. So we decided to leave that in because gamers always want as much information as they can get hold of, and it also proves that all the races are playing out properly and not scripted.
And now, looking into the future, 2011 is almost done, 2012 is coming up. Your license agreement goes until?
Well, at the moment, we're still kind of negotiating over 12, and I think we'll probably do that. Beyond that, Who knows? I think it's not something that we can really sign at the moment anyway, because the teams have to sign up to the Concord agreement. Until they sign that, so that Formula One can actually continue beyond next year, you can't get the license for it anyway. So whether or not we'll be in a running for that, I suspect we would be, because I think Codemasters took a bit of a gamble with the license and thought we can really do something special with Formula One. That seems to have paid off with 2010. Hopefully 11 will be even bigger. I certainly need it to be. And I'm looking forward to what we could do in the future. I don't think we'll run out of ideas for Formula One for the next few years, so it'll be cool to see what happens.
Yeah, one of the ideas that was commented in the YouTube videos was maybe a DLC, downloadable contents of classics, be it cars and races or tracks. Any plans in that direction?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we want to do. We do get asked that a lot, and we understand why, because it would be a popular thing to do. And let's not forget, a lot of us in the studio are big Formula One fans and racing games fans ourselves. We'd like nothing more than to do classic DLC. I mean, I'd love to have like Prost in there, Prost car, Senna, Mansell, recreate some classic scenarios, maybe do some challenges around them all. That would be fantastic. The problem obviously is in the world of Formula One, or the licenses and the negotiations, but because of the success of 10 and people have seen how we've handled those licenses and shown them in a positive light, it becomes a little easier for us to negotiate these things every year, because people start to trust in us. So we'll carry that forward in 11, and we'll still keep pushing to do that DLC, and I hope to make that reality one day, definitely.
All right, last question, availability?
September 23rd for the majority of places. PC, 360, PS3, same format as last year. We've only got a few more days now to finish this thing off, and then we can have a few days off before we start the next one and see how it goes down. I'm looking forward to actually playing people online this year, so hopefully there'll be a few long multiplayer races going on when we're done.
All right, so we will make sure to challenge you in a race in online, and we are very looking forward to September, end of September, to try out the new Formula One 2011. Thanks a lot.
That's going to wrap up this special report from Gamescom in Cologne, Germany, looking at F1 2011. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview. We should be getting a pre-release copy here in the studio very soon, and once we do, we'll let you guys know our take on the title. And it's due out in just a few short weeks, so stay tuned to InsideSimRacing.tv for the most current information. That's going to wrap it up. We got more Gamescom coverage coming to you very soon. For Andreas Nee, I'm Jessica Lopez. Checker flag is out, and so are we.